Alright. It's been a while. I need to shake off some rust. Just did a manual sound check by checking on my other devices. If the music actually is too much or too little for someone or anyone. Because right now it's actually playing through my headphones, which I am not wearing because they're really, really good and strong and music would wreck me. I'd rather control it through my Stream Deck than through the YouTube's actual controls, so just gonna ease off somewhere. Alright, that's just as good. I just went ahead and tossed a whole blanket on there, on top of my headphones. I'm sure they'll be fine. Alright. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to our very first stream as Snow Studio Games. Now, the link that would lead one to this channel is actually Snow Studio Gaming, I believe. I don't know why it was a little mix-up. Maybe I just got confused while I was creating stuff, and, well, no backsies now. So, here we are. I am Sergeant Killer Snow. I have a separate YouTube channel that has existed since before YouTube even had, like, a logical, analytical system and all that stuff. And I've been streaming on there for a long time. But I decided that since that channel was older than dust, let's start brand new. This channel is for going ahead and making games, playing variety games, breaking down those variety games, breaking down on an emotional level while making games, because I don't know if any of you have ever tried it, but oh boy, it's a doozy. So, to give a quick rundown of what to expect for at least the next 15 weeks, which is the length of my semester that I have to endure. And by endure, I mean this is going to be a rough one for anyone that has known me. But we're going to be covering combat design, rapid game development, and what was my other one that was... Was it even relevant? Probably not relevant. Oh, no, it was. Programming for games. Correct. Yeah, that's actually going to go over the actual C#. So, I'm going to be doing a lot of coding and programming and mechanic creating and level designing and just a lot of stuff over the next 15 weeks. The class I didn't bring up... Oh, wait, no, I did bring it up. Rapid game design. That class, just like I thought it would be, I got it confirmed a couple days ago, but the core basis of that class is to create basically a small game every single week. That is going to be my task. So every week on this channel, for the at least 15 weeks, we are going to be making games, one game a week, right here. And this week, we are going to be creating what I call Portal Pong. Because why not? Now, my old setup was kind of lost in making the new channel. So that's totally fine because we now have our new setup. Hello, welcome. Hi. So, what you will see right here before me. Oh, we're actually in the wrong scene there. Unity dev scene. I promise I've done this before. I really have. But it's just been, I took the summer off. And, well, you get rusty. Not rusty enough to forget that I need glasses. It was just my birthday about, I'd say, 10 days ago. I'm now officially middle-aged. I've got to be more careful about wearing my glasses. Oh yeah, my camera will go ahead and do a refresh on itself every half hour. I don't have to swap out a battery because I have a permanent battery adapter plugged in, but I don't think it enjoys being left on all the time anyway, so it just resets itself every half hour. Don't worry about it, you'll just see me like freeze up for a second and then go right back to normal. You might get some really good freeze frames of me. But what you are seeing in front of you right now is the Unity engine. It may look a little squished in aspect. That's because I had to squish this panel to fit my vertical monitor display here for y'all to see. As you can see, when I cross between the monitors, you can see the difference here. Yeah. Anyway. So the premise of this is basically our instructor said they want us to build Pong for this week. So I am building Pong. But as I was reading through the instructions, he said, don't do the Pong with the basic AI that just tracks the ball and makes sure that it's in the right X position, because that's boring. I don't want to do that. Make a single player thing, like make some breakable objects like bricks there. And I was like, okay, so he doesn't want us to make Pong. He wants us to make a brick. But we're going to call it Pong anyway. Now, oh. Now, hang on a second. Where, pray tell, I forgot to add it here. There we go. Sorry, I am personally hard of hearing, and I have friends that are also hard of hearing. Some, in fact, that are completely deaf. So I'm using these captions. Unfortunately, what happens with that is that it will block off certain parts of what you can see. So we're going to relocate it here just because there's less going on down here, because that's my animation area. We don't need to worry about that. So that's where we're going to have our captions for this scene in particular. So that way it's not blocking anything important. Like my little tags are up there. Come on. Alright, it's fine. Anyway, to explain what we've already got set up, we have our portals, which are intended to, instead of bouncing the ball all over the place, we are going to have our portals teleport the ball in through purple, out through green, and vice versa. And that thing up there, don't worry about it. It's a stretched out capsule that was supposed to be for like a power up, but I'm using it as a block off because technically when we're in game, this is all that you see. And I might need to increase the size or the thickness of our sprite, or just our player character in general. I'm thinking of putting a glow or some sort of emissive on the texture for the ball, because it is very small. It's I've noticed that it's a little hard to see. And it might also be that that's not set to... There you go. Now you're set to full scale. So I'm currently trying to work on bricks. We have a couple of problems that have sprung up. I made a good bouncy physics texture that has zero friction. It's all bounce. That's exactly what we want for the physics of our Pong ball. So it's bouncy. The ball works fine. The things that weren't working for me so far have been the portals and now the bricks a little bit. Just a little bit. The only thing that's wrong with the bricks is that they're not changing their color appropriately or at all. They'll change it at the start based on their health, but they're not updating based on, you know, after they take a hit and their health goes away. I want their color to change down a tone, right? And unfortunately, it has not been doing that. I did just change the code up though. I'm gonna save that. Now the problem with my portals, which is just teleportation, is always going to be rough, especially when you're working with physics and velocity going through that portal, because depending on how you do the portal, and since this is just a two-dimensional setting one location or position equal to another position, because I'm just making its X position equal to this X position, keeping its Y position, because I don't want the ball to randomly, you know, enter at the bottom and then shoot out of the middle for some reason. I want it to, you know, come out at the same height, just different X. I don't want it to continue through the portal and then hitting my safety net that counts the ball as gone. Ideally, we'd still like the ball to wind up, you know, falling between these areas to be considered out. Right, let's just go ahead and test the bricks. Let's keep it nice and simple. Alright, so from left to right, those are health values from 1 to 4. I do have a 5th health state there, I think. There's an easy way to tell. I can still hear my headphones. I put them like halfway across the room and threw a blanket on them. They're Sennheisers. They're supposed to be good. But whenever I'm doing streams like this, where we will be, you know, developing things, and I don't have game sound or anything in there, so everything is just silent except for what's going on YouTube right now. Which this is let's see, the song is Lost in Cannonberry, but this playlist is called Twitch Stream Safe Music. Not sure if it's exactly YouTube safe, but both platforms have been notorious for cracking down on music, so we'll see. That's there for background noise for those that can't stand the silence, because I personally can't, but I have enough going on listening to the sound of my own voice, which, not a fan, personally. Other people seem to be. I like those people. Alright, so yeah, we do have 5 health states. So this is the 1, 2, 3, and 4 HP bricks. There will be a 5 HP brick that will take a total of 5 hits to diminish. We're actually playing right now. Hey, it worked! We fixed it. See, it's not supposed to teleport right back to my paddle whenever it goes through the portal. For some reason now, the new error that I am encountering is that it's going to double tap my teleportation here and then randomly just spit itself back here. Now I've also set up a little developer's trick, because when I'm working with things that are bouncing around with physics and I don't want it to stop its motion and swap me over to Visual Studio and say, hey, you wanted me to stop at this part, right? Because you can do that. Let's give a demonstration of that happening by setting a breakpoint. I couldn't decide where I wanted to set it. So whenever our hit command is called, the first thing it does is it subtracts 1. It decrements 1 from a variable, which is going to be the health variable. So we take away 1, and if health is 0 or greater, then it'll run this. The reason that 0 matters here is because if the it's basically checking against an array, and arrays in a game engine start at 0. So even though 0 to us is a null value, like it's 0 means nothing for us as human beings usually, for a computer 0 is still a value. Null, N-U-L-L, is the lack of a value. That is what empty is to the computer. So if there is a value of 0, then to the computer that is the very first value in an array. Right? So that's why we keep this as, you know, if the health is greater than or equal to 0. So technically, right now, the value of health for these blue bricks would be 0, but we can just kind of pretend that that's 1, right? Because our player's not going to see the number. Hey, Darklight, welcome! A long time no see. So, I'm just going over how our code works and what are things that we can do to try and figure out what our problems are. Because I fixed my my code for these bricks, so they change color. And I'm proving how you can stop time by using breakpoints. So whenever something happens in your code and it runs that specific line that you put the breakpoint at, it'll stop the gameplay. It'll stop the entire engine. I actually can't click into the engine right now and do anything. I can only interact via Visual Studio here on the right. So this is one of the debugging features, right? And I do this pretty often to go ahead and find out where my code is breaking, if it's hitting a certain point at all or not, which is how I know if collisions are happening appropriately and stuff like that. It's a great tool to use breakpoints. But unfortunately, when I'm trying to figure out why our ball doesn't go through the portal the way I want it to, having it stop abruptly each time it's trying to run the code isn't helping me. Because I already have a check like that happening here. It's printing out a specific thing when it goes through the portal each time it's detected hitting the portal. So I already know that one of the problems is that it's hitting the code twice. So I need to find a way to fix that real quick. But one of my other tools, since I don't like it when it just kind of stops my motion like that for breakpoints. Uh-oh. Index was outside the array. Because if health is 0 and then you subtract 1... Got it. Anyway. Oh no, it slowed down the actual velocity of the ball. That's crazy. Anyway, the tool that I put in there is that I made a quick code in the player script that makes sure that when we hit F11, it will slow down the time scale of the game. That's not lag right now. That's just I slowed down the literal way time works for our game. And I can slow it down more until it's, yep, the value cannot be less than 0. So right now it's at its lowest that I put for the decrement value. And then I can just increase it right back up to 1. So why do I do this? So that way I can maybe launch the ball. Ah, you're still having another error exception. Cool. Right now we're having some errors with the bricks, but what I wanted to show was actually an error with something else. I know what my problem is with my code. I'll fix that for the bricks here in a second. I'm gonna delete these other bricks now that I know that they are relatively functional. And I'm gonna move the main brick over right down to the middle. because I want our player to be able to throw the ball through the portal so that way we can see what's going on. What exactly is the problem with what we're experiencing here, right? One HP brick is fine. Now we're going to throw the ball. You see how it went through the green and then just immediately went right back to our paddle? It's attached to our paddle right now, and this printed out twice. Teleport check clear. Teleport check clear happens on our portal right here. Line 37. Teleport check clear. It prints it after it teleports the ball to the teleport target. Our ball isn't teleporting to the teleport target though. It's not. It's hitting this teleport check. It's running all of this code 2 whole times, and then it's returning the ball to our paddle. So the thing is, the only code that exists to return the ball to the paddle is on the ball itself. And it is right here. Reset ball. Transform position is equal to the reset position. Awesome. Where do we have reset ball being called? Wait, that's a public one, right? Yep, that's a public one. I have that in my scripts for the wall, I'm pretty sure, right? Dropped ball wall. Exactly. I'm probably going to take this and compress it into the ball itself. But private void on collision enter, blah, blah, blah. Okay, that becomes the lost ball. We get the ball's script, and then we run reset ball. But that's only when you hit a dropped ball wall. Quote unquote. The only dropped ball walls are these no pass blockers right here. They've got the dropped ball wall script. Yep. It's great. So, why does this matter? Because this is the workflow. This is how we debug what is going wrong with what's happening. Because I didn't have to borrow this code from anywhere. I didn't download asset packs. I built all this, so I know what is connected to what I can cut out, and all that stuff. And on that note, I know where my errors are. So for the brick, the problem with the brick is that I am subtracting 1 from health at the very, very start. So it's not checking to see if the health value is already 0. So if it's trying to subtract 1 from 0, it'll make the array value -1, and we already know that it considers the very first value in an array to be 0. It can't have a negative number. So that's that error that keeps popping up and why our blue bricks aren't disappearing. I will fix that. That fixes that. The Pong portal, though, going ahead and triggering twice isn't what's resetting us. It is, but it isn't. It's the root cause of what the reset is. Because what this does after it prints teleport check clear is it takes the rigid body of the ball, which is basically its motion control. It's taking control of that ball, and it's adding the new force that will send it out of where we have it. And the thing is that since it's running it twice, it's doubling that force on impact. So it's not that it's resetting the ball, it's that it's launching it so fast that we can't exactly see which of the error walls that it's hitting, because it's just gone. And I've been trying to figure out how fast it's going by reducing our time scale and having the ball, of course. So I put a randomizer on the range that the ball can launch at, like the angle and range for it. Yeah, see, it tapped there and then it disappeared. So something we can do is we can come here to the scene tab. We can click on ping pong ball here in the I know it's kind of hidden by my frame, but you can see where my mouse is. Follow the mouse, follow the mouse. Oh, right there. Yeah, I'm looking at you. Down. Yeah, yes, right there. That's our pong ball. So by clicking the Pong ball, we can see that it's right there. Go back to our game tab so we can have control. Everything is still slow. So we're going to go ahead and finger... Yep, perfect. We'll watch it go up. We'll watch it bounce down. And then... You saw that? Did you see that? Because I barely could. It teleported the ball over here, which teleported then again to over here, which rocketed down at a extremely fast velocity straight down here. That was it. Ball gone. Crazy. Okay. See, this is why it pays to build your own stuff and not get it from assets everywhere. And if you do wind up getting assets or using like YouTube tutorials, there's nothing wrong with that. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But make sure you understand what it is that you are putting into your code. Make sure you know. I mean, you don't have to know the equations back and forth because, God damn it, I hate math. Right? No one really likes math. Except for those that are actually like led by a fascination of how math ties into everything in the universe. Look it up, it's a thing. I don't like math. I forget equations all the time. I never took physics. I don't know physics-based equations. So I'm very glad that they already have a physics engine that handles most of the stuff, but it still requires you to have like some sort of fundamental knowledge of the basics stuff. So, I look things up as well. I look up YouTube tutorials all the time. I still have like 3 of them pulled up, right? But it's all stuff that, I'm using Unity right now. I just saw your question pop up, Darklight. Also, let me know if the music is okay. If at any point it's too low or it's too loud, let me know. I have quick access to go ahead and tailor volumes. One moment. Yeah, I forgot what I was saying. Dang. Right. I was explaining that I use a bunch of tutorials as well. Always make sure you know what you are using. And if you don't know it, then try and understand it before you use that specific bit of code. Most of my summer that since I wasn't streaming or anything, was spent like decompressing for myself, but I was also, can I turn myself up a bit? Ooh, probably. I don't know why it would be too low. Actually, I do know why it would probably be too low. Give me a quick second to double check my filters that I may or may not have put on this. Yeah, the noise suppression's good. The limiter. Can I lower the limiter and will that work for me? No. That's dumb. I'm gonna set that back to its regular value. And, well, why don't I just do that then? That better? Can you hear me more clearly? Perhaps if I just rotate the mic a little bit. Better? Cool. I try not to turn my mic up too much because, like, I have it plugged into a DAC right in front of me, and it does the same thing that most things do whenever it's receiving sound. It goes ahead and, like, lights up green, and then it'll turn yellow if it's getting a little loud, and then it'll turn red if it's really loud. And typically, if I have my mic sensitivity up like this, it's turning red a lot. But as long as people can hear me, I guess I need to stop being so panicky about it. Stares intently at red color. Alright. Game is not actively running. So we saw what happens. So we know what the issue is. I actually have a new portal script right here. So that way I can try and tinker with fixing kind of the craziness going on with my stuff. Because I have spread out a lot. I've got a new Pong ball script and a new portal script, alright? So we'll be able to kind of go together one by one and see where things are. Because right now I don't think my teleport check is actually working the way I want it to. Actually, no, I think it is. It used to actually freeze the engine each time because I didn't write my, my coroutine correctly. Which can happen. And it can happen a lot. If you mess up typing something into your code and suddenly the engine is just non-responsive when you hit play or when a certain interaction is done that had that code, and you're like, oh my god! It happens to everyone. Just close out the engine and open it up again and do it again. Figure it out. I've actually been working on this for like 2 days already. This didn't just come like pre-made or anything. My first day of class was on Wednesday, and I looked at this assignment on Thursday. So I started setting it up on Friday. And almost all the things I did on Friday were for a start menu that was completely non-functional. Everything I did for Friday was useless, so I chucked it. I still have like my management scripts and everything that I know work, but things just weren't working with all the various little experiments I was doing on Friday. So I threw out that whole start menu, and Saturday I got started on the actual like game because the gameplay is going to be the key thing. I need to have this done by Tuesday night, by the way. So Tuesday night is like my cutoff. This has to be submitted before the midnight that would turn it into Wednesday, right? So Saturday, yesterday, we got started on this. I got started on this. I got the assets together. I got a bunch of sprites together that I've been accumulating over time. I went ahead and made, you know, our bounty texture. I got our inputs set up because Unity has a new system, new input system, where you don't necessarily have to like type in specific things that are pre-coded in the engine. You can make one brand new. I can actually show how to do that real quick. First thing for that is you have to go to the package manager. You go to packages in project. You switch that to Unity registry. And then you want to type here in the search bar and look for input. And then you have input system 1.7.0 released on August 15th, 2023. This is the thing that you'd want to download, right? It's got a lot of cool stuff too, by the way. Gamepad, mouse cursor, scripts. Like, these example scripts are all fully functioning scripts. In fact, I've been using the rebinding UI in some other projects to go ahead and create like a bind your own keys option in an options menu. Because I love having that option. I just hate, officially, having to create that. So, once you have the input system, you can go ahead and right-click anywhere in your project or in the actual project screen. Go to Create, and at the bottom you'll see Input Actions. I'll just make a quick demo player. Alright, then you want to go to Edit Asset, and you'll get this window right here. No control schemes, right? Let's go ahead and add a control scheme. Call it keyboard and mouse. And we're going to add keyboard and mouse. We'll say they're required. Action map. The basic map. New action, rename that. Movement. Go to your binding. Keyboard. You can hit listen. Oh, there's the W key. It's almost as easy as using Blueprint in Unreal. At least for creating inputs. Just saying. Use it in the control scheme that we just made. Check that off, and technically, when you want to do movement, you want to use a value. With the control type, I believe it was... It's not axis, it's a vector. I could check my other one, which I have docked down here where y'all actually get cut off by the captions. Whoopsies. So my movement type, it's a vector. Okay, yeah, so it would be vectors. So if you're doing a 3D game, you'd want to do control type vector 3, because the difference between vector 2 and vector 3 is literally just one value. When you have 3 vectors, you've got the height, width, and length. If you've just got a vector 2, you've got, you know, X and Y. I said the wrong thing the first time. Vector 3 is X, Y, Z, and vector 2 is X, Y. So Z is depth. That's why I said it the other way the first time, because those axes have actual, like, things that they correlate to. And the y-axis is usually verticality, which is height. And then x is known to be horizontal, which is, you know, just flat plane. And then you've got your depth, or the flat plane would be width in most cases, depending on what you're looking at, if you're looking at something flat. But if it's not something flat, and it's 3-dimensional, then it's a vector 3, and it's got depth. Right? So we're using a 2D game, so we made it with a vector 2. And the action type being a value, it means that we're looking to see if this action's value is more than, or has crossed a certain value threshold. So the reason that you want to use value instead of button press is because if you've got a game that might have variable speeds, like you're using a control stick or something, and you tap lightly on it and it moves slowly, yeah, that needs to be a value. So whenever your input is between value, let's say 0.3 to 0.5, that's using the slow speed. 0.5 to 0.7, normal speed. 0.7 up to 1, full tilt run. That's why you use value. You can go ahead and get anything between certain value ranges and have it do specific things at specific times. Very important to know how you control your game. That said, I'm going to delete the demo player. Don't need that. I already have my player. I also have a UI mapping. You don't see that here, but I have it. We'll deal with that later. Way later. That's going to be like making the UI and stuff for a pause menu, for a sound settings menu, which will let us set the sound effects volume and music volume, and then the overall master volume. I already have the mixer set up for that, and I've got the scripts to manage all of that already. So we can toss it all together later, whether today or on Tuesday, because Tuesday is going to be the other day that I'll probably be working on stuff. And let's see here. Yeah, I'm not supposed to be on the mixer. I'm gonna get distracted. We have our input actions. We're gonna fix the brick because the portal is gonna be a little much. And also we have all this code here for the new Pong ball and the new portal that I need to work on as well. All right, so we're gonna close out. No, I need that open actually, technically. Close out the player. I don't need the player's information anymore right now. We're not getting any more values from the player to modify. What we can do, however, is pull up our brick. The way I constructed this brick, I haven't turned it into a prefab yet. And for anyone that doesn't know what the term prefab means, prefab is a prefabricated object. So it would be like if I took, well, basically this brick, which I have made, and it's kind of blocked by me. It's kind of blocked by all of it. Boop. There you go. Brick. This brick is the parent object. It's the top of its hierarchy. And then you see you go over a little bit, you drop down, and you've got your brick sprite. Technically, I just made another empty object, attached it to this, which didn't have anything on it, and I used it just to have the sprite on it. There's a reason why I split all this up instead of just having it all slapped onto just one object and have the sprite, the script, the colliders, and all of it on one guy, making it really easy to access in the script. Yeah, I could do that. But let's say I want to turn off its collision at some point. It's going to be much harder to do that in script than it would be to disable the object completely that has that feature on it. It costs nothing to do. So, that is why we assemble it this way. So I separated the sprite. I separated the trigger checker because that is specifically a trigger type of box collider. And on the main brick itself, we gave it a box collider as well. But it is specifically not a trigger. This is its physical collision. Because a box collider or, you know, circle colliders can be both of those things. Let me bring myself back up here. There we go. I just wanted to be able to show that. I know my hierarchy isn't exactly set up appropriately for the stream, and I do apologize for that. I will go ahead and figure out a way to set that up the right way for us, you know? Anyway. I'm going to set our brick script up to the max of 6 health because then that sets our brick I think I'm going to have to put this in start. So the reason that I am having doubts about having it there and why I am now going to create a private void start and slap it in there instead is because I want to put it under an if statement. Is not less than or equal to 0. Cool. I think this is actually how it would Yeah, we need to have this hit check on there first. So if health is not less than or equal to 0, all right, we subtract 1 from it, and then we'll go ahead and set our current state to health minus 1. Wait. There's 5 states, and I put 6 for health. Yeah, that's fine. Chat, did I mess it up? No, we'll see. I love how I say no and we'll see. As if they don't contradict each other inherently. Okay. I want to see how the brick is going to perform. So, for just this once, old bricky boy, we're gonna make you swole. I don't want to have to do a precision hit on this thing, alright? I'm just trying to... Oh! Where did you go? What are you doing? Okay, where's my... Okay, background's at -10. Brick sprite should be showing up. Alright, so let's go ahead and set this back to its lovely value of 1. And try and figure this out. And by that, I mean I'm probably just going to do what I did before. And we're going to duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. This is the reason that I did that before, by the way. 4, 3, 2, 1. The reason we have a fragile and unbreakable options here is because I do have sprites for like fragile cracked bricks that look like these, but they're just like cracked for each color. So we can have those be fragile bricks that do something else. Maybe they have an item in there or something. And then we could have unbreakable ones that are just solid and don't break. I like putting options in, and I like building with the intent to put in, you know, more functionality. Because if I can think of the functionality so easily, why can't I, you know, commit the effort to try and make it work? That's my stance. I know not many or any really share that stance, but I can't really say that. I know that there's so many developers that are just having all of their ideas shot down. We're going to test this now. I'm going to ease up on the chatter and do some more actual... Nandesko? Huh? Pourquoi? Papa. Why are they invisible? Wait. Theory. theory is wrong. They are all still active. This is odd. I love running into new problems. I both mean that and don't mean that. Alright, so it's not the fact that they're static. We can ignore that. It's nothing to do with that. They do have a draw mode. They have a material. Their Z location hasn't changed. Right? I did put the... No, the camera was always there, I think. At -10. What changed in the brick script? There's no way it's because I went ahead and moved that there, right? Alright, here's what we're going to do. We're going to test it. Step 1, we're going to copy this. Step 2, we're going to make the code ignore this. Step 3, I'm going to put that there so that way I can spot this spot easier later. So when you do double slashes like that and you go ahead and type anything afterwards, it'll have that bright green text when you're coding in C#. And wait a minute. Was this C# or C++? My brain just dumped which language this was. I get them mixed up every now and again. I want to make sure that I'm giving the correct information. Yeah, it's C#. Okay. Awesome. So, in C#, double slash will give you comment, green text. A slightly darker green text would be a summary, which you can do with, I think it's 3 slashes? Yeah, 3 slashes starts a summary, and then to end the summary, I think it's a period, 3 slashes, or 3 slashes and a period. I'm not sure. I don't remember how to end the summary, but summarizing just lets you kind of comment out huge chunks of code, which you can do the same exact thing just by highlighting it and then hitting Control K as in kilo and C as in Charlie. So in that order, Control K C, and then you have your comment. If you want to undo the comment, you highlight the commented area and then you hit Control K U, and it'll undo it, making the code active again. So we're gonna Control KC to comment that out, make sure that we aren't including this part. I want to see if this part will work the way that it was working before. And me doing the spacing and saving after every line of code is just kind of a nervous habit I've gotten into after having too many errors happen. As the game gets bigger, it's not smart to keep doing that because it will just take up time. See? They're there. Okay, so moving it to the start was not conducive to a fun time. But let's see what happens now. Oh, Why did yellow just absolutely vanish? You vanished too. That third one vanished and it didn't even hit anything. It actually may have gotten hit. The ball went through the portal, which means that I think it slapped into that other one when it was bouncing around like crazy. I actually watched the ball spike down that time. I was able to see it. Hey, yo. Our paddle wound up all the way the hell over here. I can keep triggering this, but it's not going to do anything because it's attached to the paddle now. What are you going to do? That's actually not good. The fact that it keeps on doing that. But it means that the flag for, mounted to paddle is active on it. And that's the only reason why I know that this is yeeting the ball into our boundaries. So, I guess every little bit helps. But we have an issue. That's right. The issue that we're having is that the bricks seem to be dying immediately. All right. I don't want to put breakpoints in yet. We'll see how this works. There we go. I'm sorry? Okay, something hit the wall. Which brick was it that called it? So we still have an error. And it's happening whenever we're supposed to be disabling. So that means that whenever it detects that its value is less than... I got it. Yeah, we can stop all that now. Can't be equal to 0. That was my error. That was my lapse in logic. Bet it'll work. Ooh, we hit 2 of them. No! How did this happen? Yeah, see, the health is at 0, and it's trying to decrement it. Oh, wait, no, wait, it was at 0. All right, close this out. I need to see when this is triggering. We're using the breakpoints now. And we might even slow down the, if I notice that it's jumping close to the, portal, I'm gonna hit the button to slow time. And we're gonna modify our slow time script as well. Or not slow time script, but we're gonna modify our little developer feature that we have going in our update here, and I'm just going to change that time scale value to 0.9. So what we just did is that we made it so that way whenever we hit F11, it'll drop 90% of our game's like time scale. So our game is only going to be moving at 10% of its normal speed. And then I'll hit F12 whenever I want to return it back to normal. Clear? Clear. Close that one out. All right. I don't see which one it hit, but it did hit one of them. Actually, it hit the 4 health one, which is the orange one. And I think it just hit another one too, actually. It hit the 1 health brick. All right. I need another check to happen. Okay. So the first check checks if we are greater than 0 health. So that way our math doesn't try and subtract 1 from 0. Then the next step is after it subtracts from health, it's going to check and see if our remaining health is 0 or not. If it isn't, we run this code. If it is, then we run this one instead. Honestly, it doesn't need to say health. I can just make it 0. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Let's see if that made the difference. Okay. I don't have breakpoints in anything anymore, so fingers crossed. Matter of fact, let's hit that button that F11 button once. Everything's slowed down. You can tell by our portal animations going super dummy slow. Oh yeah, buddy. We're gonna miss. We missed. All right, now let's see where it will hit there. Our paddle got moved. Why did our paddle get moved? I don't like that. Oh, wait, I just realized one of the blue bricks is gone. It worked, I think. This is gonna hit a blue brick. Why aren't you dead? What do you mean? Uh-huh. Come on. Oh! I got between them! Oh. I didn't expect to actually witness that happen. Okay. Okay, that time it didn't move our paddle and yeet it across the map. I am curious as to why we were able to hit one of those bricks while it was already blue and it didn't do its thing. Damn it. Oh, now it did. That one didn't. It's gone now because of the crazy ping pong that happens. You know what? I have a theory. So this is our original Pong portal. I'm just curious. You know. What happens if we comment out that little velocity increase? Because technically what this part of the code does is it's adding force. Because when we teleport our object, it kind of just teleports to a spot, right? So without adding that force, it would just kind of stay there or drop. It would lose a lot of its initial velocity because it's stopping its previous trajectory and it's moving to a new one. So it's gotten wonky before. So that's why I was like, okay, so we need to go ahead and make a way so that way when it teleports to the other side, it will go ahead and give that velocity right back to it. And so far, it's been a bit of a nightmare to try and get it to work the way I want it to. So let's see what happens if it doesn't have that increase of speed. I think I fixed it. I think I fixed it. I think I fixed it without needing to do any extra. I'm really happy about this right now. I'm really happy about this right now. I'm so glad that that problem is solved and not an issue anymore. Oh my god, that's all it took. Was me getting rid of that. That's great. Oh, I can keep my other scripts. That's so good. Although I probably still don't really need this one here and one other one that I had, but it's fine. It's fine. Is it though? All right, hang on. Huh. Idea. So we're going to go ahead and create the tag for a boundary, and we're going to add that to the left, right, and bottom extremes where we, obviously don't want the ball going, and if it does, then it counts as loss, right? So we set those boundaries. The wall can remain a wall. And now I can go ahead and take, let's say, that. And, oh, wait a minute. These don't, oh, they do have, that's the drop ball. So it's the back wall that doesn't have any script on it. That's right. The back wall doesn't need a script because it doesn't do anything to the ball except for act as a collision blocker for it to bounce off of. Oh boy. All right, so if we take this, change that to boundary, and then just say reset ball, we can take this, cut it out, save this now empty script that is likely not really that important. And we're going to find in our regular ping pong ball settings where the collision is. Right, collision check is going to be on the ball now. And if we hit a boundary, we'll reset the ball. Yeah, it's perfect. And I think theoretically, honestly, if we go to our portals here, we know where the egress points are. Which means we can just use those X values. Right? I'm still going to rewrite this a little bit. I'm not going to do the whole new Pong ball, new portal script. I'll get rid of those. The portal control return is what I have on the egress scripts or on the egress points. So what those do currently is, let's get rid of the dropped ball wall as well. And get rid of that script on our no pass blockers here, which we're probably going to rename as boundaries. And get rid, remove component. We did that with all three of them highlighted, so it affected all of them in the exact same way, including the rename. Okay. So on our portal, instead of, let's see, return point, I really only need the return point's x-axis. So if I rename this to egress x, I'll have to rewrite the script a little bit for sure. because if we want to use the ball's height, ball transform position is equal to, okay, and then return point transform position. Yeah, we don't want to do that. This is going to be a vector 2. I'm going to turn this into a game object. Return point is going to be a game object that we get from the Pong portal, being the target portal. It would have to be like the actual child object instead. So what I'm going to do is make this a public. Actually, we're going to serialize it like we did the previous field. What serializing means is, in this sense, is that we're going to make it something that shows up in our inspector that we can drop a specific thing into. So when something has a serial number, it has that number because it is that specific exact object. Even if that object is similar to millions of other types of objects, that specific one is identifiable by its serial number, right? So serializing a field is the same thing. We're saying that, yeah, we could have any old game object, but we want to cherry pick a specific game object and look for that specific one by plugging that value in by serializing the field. Another way to make it show up in the inspector is to just make the value public. Instead of typing private game object, it could be a public game object. But when you do that, you're making it possible for any script in the game to be able to talk to and communicate with that specific variable. So if it's a public game object, anyone can get their grubby little mitts on it and start changing things about it. They could change what is that public game object. They can change all of the, features about it. Its transform, rotation, anything that's attached to it. They have access to it because it would be public. By setting it as private, but serializing that field, we still get to say exactly which one we want in the inspector. But we also want to say, hey, y'all aren't allowed to have this. This is where y'all can see it. It's window shopping. You can't touch it. That's exactly what serializing does for this. So we're serializing a game object here called return point because we're going to want the return point in our portal come on, do the thing. Wonderful. It helps me to do it bit by bit as I'm going. So you'll notice here where it says Pong portal script, the script that we are currently writing and editing. There's the target portal, which we already kind of had there, right? But now we also have the return point. It says none, and it's looking for a game object. If you hit that, it gives you a list of all the game objects. You could go through that list if you want. There's an easier way. So because we are in the purple portal right now, we want to get the egress point of the green portal, which is the portal that we plugged in here. Now, the reason that we have to do it this way, instead of just saying like, hey, code, find this child object that's attached to this and make that this thing. The reason that we don't do that is because it's such a circuitous workaround in actual code to get it to do that because their child and parent commands aren't really that great, at least the ones that are built in, and I don't know how to do C# like base coding for creating my own drawers and stuff like that. I have one script in here that is completely like a borrowed one. Not borrowed, I had to type it out myself, and I understand what it does, but I wouldn't have thought of it myself, and I wouldn't have known the features myself. I know it now because I've seen it. And what this script does is it checks if you are using Unity Editor. If you are a Unity Editor, and if you're using Unity Editor, it will go ahead and create a serializable attribute. And that serializable attribute is a new class that we create called scene field. This whole thing we're not even really going to use in this script. I just like having it in my projects in case I wind up using something like it. What it does ultimately is, instead of having to, like, when you're changing scenes in the game, like you go through a door and you load a new level, or you're at the start menu of the whole game and you hit start game and it, fades away and then takes you into the actual game. That transition of levels right there, that is done with using the scene management that's built into Unity. And what that does inherently, or what the code is looking for, is it asks you to load a scene, and it asks specifically for the name of the scene. So all of your code is going to be hard coded with those names. The scene field that we created instead makes it so we can just drag and drop a field, like a scene, into a special field, just like we did with that game object. Just like with these portals, grabbing this object and dragging that in right there, we can do that with scenes because of a script that we borrowed. It took me a while to understand it. As I was typing it, I had to keep on bashing my head against it, putting my own little bits of comments in there, so that way I can remind myself what certain things were for in that code, because it's more complicated and not something that I fully grasp yet. But I like being able to have a nice little scene drop in. It's more of a code that edits the editor itself more than it is for the game. So it's not something that I really even need to care to drop in for any project, really. But quality of life improvements should never be underestimated. Anyway, back to the task at hand. So we have our purple and our green portals that now have the appropriate egress points. I'm going to go ahead and save the game there too. So now that we have changed a variable to be a game object. Do I use this variable anywhere? I do. That's crazy, because that's not the ball that should be the one being moved. That's so wild. We can actually get rid of that, because this should be ball to teleport. Which means that this can go. In fact, our whole awake thing there can go. So now our portals look to see if they have been, if their trigger has been entered by anything with the ball tag. And if it does have the ball tag, then you go ahead and, get Pong ball to teleport. And you specifically say that the collided game object is a Pong ball. And we name it ball to teleport. So that way we can work with it, right? Because generally when you collide with something, you're going to wind up it's going to only be known as the collision that happened. So you need to go ahead and store those values that happened during that collision, including what collided, where it collided, and basically anything attached to those two things, right? So in this case, what collided with it? A ball. A Pong ball. That Pong ball has a script. The other things that our Pong ball has is a Pong ball sprite, and a trigger check. So all of those things can be accessed because of the fact that we made this connection with that collision. Only if we store that value, though, so that way we can use it a lot easier, because or else the code's going to look crazy. So we store that as ball to teleport. And we also want to make sure that we can access the speed and directions, velocity, all that information from that ball. That's not stored in the script. That's stored in the rigid body. And since we're in 2D, it'll be a rigid body 2D. So that's what we look for. Rigid body 2D, ball control. We make a vector 2 and call that direction of some sort. I called it the balder. Ball dir, ball direction, right? And then we set that to be equal to the ball's velocity, right? So the reason that we do all that is to store how fast the ball was moving and what trajectory it had while it was moving when it hit the portal. Then we take that and we check to see if the ball to teleport is teleporting. Yeah. I have that information already on the ball here. So we're going to skip over those two. On collision, enter. The boundary should reset the ball. That's fine. On update, we check to see if we're mounted to the paddle. That's for when we reset. All right. So the portal, not that. Portal checks, check of teleporting. Check of teleporting is right here. All it does is let us access our private bool of teleporting. And the reason that we have teleporting as private instead of public is that we don't want anything outside of the ball script to tell us when that ball is teleporting. We don't want anything else to determine when it's teleporting. The ball knows when it's teleporting, and it will teleport when it hits that that portal, and that portal calls for that check and says, hey, you're a ball, right? I'm a portal. You want to go through? Yeah. Have your people call my people. These are their people calling each other. Right? That's what this is. So, they call, they ask if the ball is teleporting, and then it returns the value of teleporting, whether it's true or false. So it's just like, yeah, or no. In this case, we're looking to see if it's not teleporting. The reason that we do this is so that way, if it's already teleporting through a portal, it's not going to immediately trigger when it comes out of the other portal and be like, hey, you're a ball. I'm a portal. I noticed that you just appeared inside of me. Would you like to go back through? Boop. Then you're stuck bouncing between the two. I already had it happen. I did it intentionally earlier today just to give myself a little go. I was like, I know it'll happen. I know it's going to happen. I want to watch it, though. And I did. It was funny. I'm not about to break everything again to make it happen, but yeah. So, we want to make sure that we're not already teleporting. When we do that, and we get that answer back from that ball, the portal then goes and tells the ball, all right, you're clear. Start your teleport protocols. And the teleport protocol checks once again to make sure that we're not teleporting already. And then it's like, all right, we did our double check. You're definitely not teleporting already. You're not in that kind of committed relationship with someone mathematically. So, congratulations, you're officially teleporting. And then it's going to get the component for our ball's circle collider, right? Specifically, the ball's circle collider, because we do have two types of circle colliders, right? So how do we determine which one is which? Well, we know that when we just look at these two circle colliders, one difference is that one is a trigger and one isn't a trigger. So we know that that means that this collider is actually a collision collider, while this one is a trigger collider. Does that matter? Right here? When it comes to getting the component and turning it off? In this particular sense, it doesn't. The fact that one is a trigger and the other one is not does not matter in this situation. The reason that there is a substantial difference in which one we turn off is that this physical collider, the one that we know is like what is impacting with our trigger, if that one, oh wait, technically, I just realized I should probably turn off the other collider as well. Technically. Yeah, we're gonna add that in. Just to cover all the bases. Get component in children. That's not what we wanted. We want to go ahead and do enabled. And we set that to false. So what this does now is it turns off both of our colliders to make sure that we don't accidentally trigger anything along the way. And then it starts the coroutine of teleporting check. All right, so far our teleportation has not even teleported us yet. We haven't completed what the Pong portal is telling the ball to do. The ball's just doing its protocols and like processing the fact that it's been given that gracious permission to enter a portal and to teleport. So now that it's got its teleporting protocols done, it starts the teleporting check. Come on, hurry up, do the save. There you go. So, with this teleporting check, it says private eye enumerator. So what this means is that it's a coroutine. That means that this specific code can be run a couple of different ways, and it can run indefinitely. Now, the thing with coroutines is that they can run accidentally infinitely per frame if you mess up. And coroutines are one of the quickest ways to, mess something up and then have it crash the engine just outright. One little thing wrong in a coroutine, engine just, no, I don't know how to do this. Dead. Gone. Right? So, you want to be careful with the coroutines. We are using it correctly here. We did break it earlier, and the reason that it was broken before was because we never put in this thing that told it when to stop. We never told it when to not be teleporting. So it created this infinite loop of it just running itself forever. And that's what froze the system before. So we put stop teleporting check, but we'll get there. Part of our teleporting protocol starts the teleporting check. It's actually the end of our protocol is to do the check. And while that check is running, it's going to check if we're teleporting. And if we are teleporting, it's going to wait for 1 second. And then it's going to do a stop teleporting check. The stop teleporting check checks if we are teleporting, of course, which we should be, because we should be actively teleporting if we are even hitting this command. It's only ever called once. So if teleporting, we get the component. Here we go. This is what I wanted. Boop. We set those to true. I'm actually going to set this wait time to 0.5 again and hope that it works out. But anyway, the stop teleporting check checks if we're teleporting, and if we are, then it goes ahead and re-enables our collision and turns off teleporting and basically says, okay, you're done. Stop means stop. So we stop. And then it stops, specifically, it runs this, stop coroutine teleporting check. Because we need that. Because or else this won't ever stop either. It should, because if teleporting, then stuff, but, you know. Alright, those are saved. So now that the stop coroutine teleporting check is done, what happens after that, you might ask? Does it run anything else here? We've gone over those 3 teleporting things. We've gone over the bools that check. We know that check if mounted is for, you know, launching the ball. Oh, look, there's the launch ball logic right there, which all it does is, you know, add the force and make it fly off in a general random area. So there's that. So what could possibly be the rest, right? Well, that's back at the portal. Yep. That was all just a part of that. So once that is complete, we take the teleport target, right? Teleport target we created up here. It's finally time to use that vector 2. It's finally time to set that vector 2. So that teleport target, those 2 values of the teleport are going to be the return points transform dot position dot x with the ball to teleport dot transform dot position dot y. Yes. Very good. I'm also going to rename that return point to egress point, but I'll do that here in a second. And the reason that that's all red like that, there is a reason for it, I promise. It was anticipated. I knew that it would happen. Is because we need to new. That's it. It used to be you'd have to type out new vector 2 and then open parentheses and all that other stuff. You don't need to type vector 2 here because the system is basically already understanding that you are setting a value equal to another one. So it's checking that what this value is at its core, which is vector 2. So it's saying, oh, okay, so you just want a new type of this thing. So you want a new vector 2. And I'm setting that new vector 2, those 2 values, that horizontal and vertical position. I'm setting the vertical position to be equal to the ball's vertical position. And I'm setting the horizontal position, the width, where it shows up on this x value from left to right, is equal to the egress points x and y values. Or rather, to the x value. So if it goes through the green portal, it's going to pop up somewhere along this x value, and the y value will be determined by wherever the ball was. The rest of my math should be good here. We're going to get rid of the teleportation check clear that was used for debugging purposes. If this works without needing this little height adjustment that I was doing through the other script, which I think I already technically delete. Yeah, I already deleted that, so that's got to go. Boop. Adjust height no longer exists because that script no longer exists on the thing that we were adjusting height on. Okay, so we save all that out. Our portal script is a lot smaller than when we started. And it works. Oh. Ayo. Nice. That's actually really awesome. I like that. And then it could possibly spit out low, and that would be the, you know, the guaranteed way of losing that. Yeah, I can definitely vibe with this. And you can do that too. Oh, that's sneaky. Oh, wait a minute. That may have been unintended there. Okay, so it feels like I can go a little further to the sides than I would really actually like the player to be able to go. So I think I'm going to have to put some blocks or something that would act as limiters. Or no. We'll create new limiters. So these portals work exactly the way I want them to. I'm going to delete these other two things here. Actually, I'm going to delete all of those prefabs, and I'm going to re-drop in these new ones. Or rather, drop in these things now that they all work the way I want them to. The back wall doesn't need script. Those don't need script anymore. Everything is working the way I want it to. Our manager's office currently only has an input handler. And the reasoning behind... Hey, I just realized that our web audio is gone. Our music ended. When did that video paused? Continue watching. Son of a... I know why. YouTube is so shady. Even though I can have my YouTube accounts interlinked and everything, it's not going to share my YouTube red with everything, is it? That's crazy. I've never had it ask me if I wanted to continue to... That's shiesty. I am so sorry for however long that that extended silence was. Man, that got me messed up. Alright, either way. I guess I have to keep this window open to some degree. Okay. So anyway, manager's office is an empty, it's literally just an empty object that we attach other empty non-physical objects to. They're not moving, they're not doing anything, they just kind of sit in the screen. But they actually, the managers are going to be various, or handlers, however you want to refer to them. They handle the systems, right? So the input handler, I could put the script that manages all of the, you know, input, which would be how the player interacts with the game itself. So that would be holding a controller in your hand and hitting, you know, A, X, Y, B. Any of those are inputs. Control stick, that's an input. Start button, input. The space bar is an input. For gesture control, waving something in the air is an input, right? So instead of coding all of that into the player and having the player also, the player script chunky and hundreds of lines, because it's like got the movement script, it's got the combat script, it's got all of that stuff all in the same player script, that's messy. That gets really messy. I used to like it that way. So that way I didn't have to bounce from script to script to script to script to script, and I could just look at one script and see everything on there and just scroll through. But then I realized that when my player scripts are 400 lines long, it's not kosher, it's not cozy, it's not fun, because when something breaks, I gotta go through all of those lines of code. And it's so much harder to look at wall of text rather than little paragraphs of text like what we have here. So glad that this is smaller now. Things were working. Things were working well. Okay. I think I have to make some configurations of bricks, and then we can kind of work on things like the actual game system, where it keeps track of the score that you get for each brick for breaking them. That determines whether it needs to progress to the next level, if it needs to refresh bricks and things like that. So there's still quite a lot to do. We've literally just kind of done the base gameplay functionality without having extra stuff on there. And extra stuff is something that we can consider, but it won't be today. I will let y'all know that we are going to be live for only like another 40 minutes or so, because it's currently almost 8:20 p.m. my time. We started late today. I wanted to start at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon and then keep going until roughly around 20 minutes ago. But because of the way that that OBS had me wait the full 24 hours instead of when YouTube was initially just ready to let me stream, I had to wait until 5 p.m. And then 5 p.m. rolled around, and I had been doing all this preparation, and I was like, I still haven't done anything for myself. I haven't, like, eaten. I haven't done anything. I still haven't done any of that, but I had some snacks. Y'all heard me shaking something up at the start. Little blender bottle of protein. That's just to kind of hold me over, but I still have yet to eat something today, so at 9 p.m. my time, we're cutting this off. And I might continue tomorrow. I do have a class tomorrow from, I think, 1:30 to 4:30. And then I'll see how I'm feeling after that. Because that class is going to be the combat design class, and I'm going to find out what I need to do for that class, and then have an assignment assigned to me for that class, which I won't start right then and there. I know that I need to prioritize things properly. But we might stream tomorrow. That is not a guaranteed given. Tuesday, though. Tuesday is going to be my last day to do this assignment. And Tuesday is going to be my last day to do any of my, like, weekly create a game assignments. Up until, you know, I don't have to do them anymore in, like, December. Anyway. Yeah. So Tuesday is definitely going to be a stream type of day, where we will struggle to get our things completed and done the way we want it to. But we will get it done. And yeah, that's about all I have for right now on this. I will be right back. I'm going to run to the bathroom real quick because, you know, I've just drank like my second energy drink of the day on top of protein and water and all this other stuff. Yeah, be right back. Back. Oh god, I'm getting old. So old. Okay. Back to... Oh, wait, that's right. I still need to create the button for that one. Actually, I think I'm just going to go ahead and do a little Stream Deck search right there. Pop up that software and replace our solo scene with the Unity dev scene. Wonderful. Now I can quick swap to that. Oh boy. All right. So because of that, we no longer need portal return control. That's garbage that is no longer needed. Fare thee well, garbage. And where did we have that script? Oh yeah, that's right. It was sitting in the purple portal and the green portal on their egress points. Remove that from both. Wonderful. We were explaining the manager's office a little bit. The event system is needed for inputs, specifically for, well, not specifically for a certain thing. I have this event system here because I am going to create a pause menu. I just need to, you know, regain my confidence in creating Unity UIs. To be quite honest, I hate creating UI stuff because doing the ray casting and all that stuff and getting the buttons to act right and swapping out control schemes and everything, it's a complicated matter. I understand why menus can go glitchy and fuck up. I really dislike them. But we do what we can. Bit by bit, inch by inch. Until our sanity creeps away. Let me do a little caretaking on our stuff here. Public game object is the reset anchor up there. I like setting my values that are public at the top. Private values closer to the bottom to where everything actually kicks off. And bools have their own little place because they need to be checked pretty regularly. So all right. All the other stuff for the ball was fine. I can actually cut off that debugging mode. Oh boy, I'm gonna have to comment like crazy on these other ones. Actually, no. Do I? Possibly. Let me get rid of this set of comments. Okay. This little area here is going to be snippeted. We're going to surround it with a region. We're going to call this bools. You'll notice that it already put something that says end region right there. So we have region and end region, and what this does is it creates a new little drop down for us to do that. Boom. We can also change the name of this to, instead of bools, we'll call it bool control or CPM everything because I shifted my hand to the right. And now that's sorted. For these, we can go ahead and highlight and give those another snippet as well. And we're going to call this one the teleport logic. And the rest of these can actually be given one last snippet. Wait a minute, I forgot the launch ball. Grab all those, give them another snippet, surround with region, and we'll go ahead and call this I don't know what's called this one. I don't want to call this one ball control. But it might just be ball control. And technically this one belongs in bool controls, because it controls what the state of the paddle is. Or the mounted state of being attached to said paddle. By doing that, we have that. And the bool controls are done. And this is done. Cool. So, in one fell swoop, we just turned that Pong ball screen that had well over 100 lines of code to scroll through. And we went ahead and kind of truncated it down a little bit. Nice. Even better. Next, we can get rid of this void start that we had because we realized that it was not working. We no longer need that under for testing. See. Weakest brick is at brick states 0. Health slider range goes no is set to go no lower than 1. Meaning at 1 HP. The brick state will be, or rather the current state will be weakest. That is why we put this range up here, by the way. For anyone that doesn't know, which this is one of those like little known attribute things that people tend to ignore, but this gives you a slider in the actual inspector. So when I made these bricks, we have, you know, the unbreakable and the fragile and stuff like that, which we're not going to be using for this initial state of the game. I have those in there in case come Tuesday we have everything else working, because I'm gonna obviously be working on this through like tonight or whenever I feel like it up until it has to be due, but I'm not going to be streaming each and every time that I work on this. So there will be incremental changes in each project as we see it developing here on stream, and you know what it will look like the next time stream starts up. By the way, if anyone wants to play these when they're done, let me know. I probably won't mind releasing like a little build here and there, depending. I'll probably dump it into the Discord though, which I still haven't put the information for the Discord in here yet, so we'll work on that when ready. So there's the slider, goes up to 6, so that way no matter what, when the game starts, it would subtract 1 from it. So if it subtracted the 1 from the 6, it would make it 5, meaning it would be the same as the maximum amount of brick states, which would mean the 5 HP brick. So even though it says 6 health, 6 health equals 5 HP brick. Yeah. That's how it's going to work here. I tell you what. So technically, right. Let's go ahead and make our thing. That thing I sent you. Actually, why don't I try and do some music? We're going to create an empty attached to our manager's office, and we're going to call this sound mixer handler, and we're going to attach the sound mixer manager to the handler's object. Make the handler static, and we're going to toss our main mixer onto that audio mixer. So opening up our sound mixer script, you see that we serialize the field for the audio mixer, which we have right here. Audio mixer, main mixer. And we have 3 values here. Public voids, all of them, so that way they can be accessed from, you know, outside of the script, because they're going to be accessed and changed by our player, ultimately. So what this command does is it will set the master volume, it'll set the volume of the respective, like, part of the mixer. So if I open up the mixer completely here, you'll see main mixer, we have master, sound effects, and music. Those are the 3 groups that I created there. And here we have the 3 values in our script. Set master, set sound effects, set music, right? These are going to be, by the way, I had to look up that math. I don't know why it's weird like that, because whenever I tried to make things, audio screens before based off what I thought would logically work based on my human way of thinking, it wasn't working. It really wasn't. So I had to look things up. There was math that needed to be done to go ahead and get volume levels to be what they're supposed to be. So that's what that is. So this script, and the reason that it is the way it is set to be used by a menu screen. It's meant to be used specifically by a sound setting screen. So when you create buttons and sliders and stuff on a user interface, what you do is you bind events to them. So that way when something happens to that UI element, it will fire off that event. And in the case of volume sliders, it basically looks for any time there's a change in that value between 0 to 1, since it works off percentages. So 0.1 would be 10%, 0.01 is 1%. A value of 1.0 is 100%. So the game generally would start at everything at a maxed out volume of 100%. So if we have a sound setting screen with this script attached to it, anytime that you move the slider on, let's say for just the sound effects thing, anytime you move the slider on the settings screen, it will basically jump to this audio mixer because it's a direct link, and it will start changing the volume of anything that is supposed to be considered a sound effects. Anything that is considered to be on the music board. Anything like that. That's how that works. It's a good time. Anyway. So we have that manager on there now. It exists, but we don't have the menus or anything yet, so that just is gonna kind of be there. Big sad. That's mainly for use in the pause menu, so we go ahead and create another empty, and we call this one the sound effects manager. Or handler, rather. I like putting the handlers in the manager's office and then giving them all the manager thing. Sound effects manager. There you go. Now, you'll notice that this is looking for something called an audio source. And it's looking for something that's called the sound effects object. We have that right here. It's already pre-made. It's a prefab that we created, which I'm going to go ahead and take it now and chunk it into the prefab folder. So the sound effects object is literally just a singular little object with a sound source. And that's all it has. But it outputs specifically to the sound effects group of the main mixer. That's important. That's the only thing you really have to worry about. So this sound effects object, the reason that we created this is so that way we can create, and like the word in Engine is called instantiation, but it's basically spawning. So what we do whenever we want a sound effect to play, like the ball hit a brick, it should play a sound, right? So what we're going to do is whenever that impact happens and that all those collision things that are happening at the same time are all going off, we're also going to tell it to talk to the sound effects manager and have the sound effects manager go ahead and spit out one of the sound effects objects running a specific sound for that interaction of ball and brick, and it'll spawn the sound effects object as an audio source right there where the collision happened, and it'll play that sound, and then it'll destroy itself. The sound object just disappears afterwards. Because with these settings, we have it to play on wake, and right below it where it says loop, it's unchecked. Because we don't want that to play. Repeatedly, rather. If the sound effect is going to be played, and it's going to be played, like, repeatedly, then it's going to be on a new call every time. If you want something to be playing repeatedly on a loop, then it's probably background music, which is why we have a whole separate control for music. Kind of torn here if I want to go ahead and put a sound source on this and make it the music as well. Yeah, I think I'll do that. Audio. We're going to put an audio source. And we're going to go ahead and make sure that we select output, music. That's an important one. The master output is going to be what handles like the entire game audio. We'll work with that a little bit later, or probably on Tuesday. Tuesday is when I'm going to be looking forward to doing all of the menu stuff. If the game works, the game works. If I've got all the cool game stuff in there, then I am very, very happy with that result, and I can just admit my defeat in not being able to make a fucking menu. I'm okay with that. The fact that I've got functioning portals and that they yeet the ball in the appropriate way, the ball's bouncing the appropriate way, the bricks are acting the way they're supposed to without breaking code-wise. This is all excellent progress. Like, a lot of progress, honestly, for basically a day and a half to 2 days of real development. Where I wasn't distracted. So, remember when I said that Friday I had like kind of an off day of development where I spent most of the Friday going ahead and trying to build stuff up for this, getting it set up, and then I wound up trashing it all because it wasn't working? That was all menu stuff that I was trying to do. And I was trying to do it until 4:30 in the morning Saturday. Once I saw that it was almost 5 o'clock in the morning and that I hadn't really gotten up or done anything, I was like, this shit isn't working. I have nothing to show for all of my wasted time, and it's almost 5 in the morning. it's time to delete this so that way I don't waste any more time on it when I get back to this, and I'm going to bed. And that's what I did. And it's not an easy thing to do, to drop your work, to stop doing what you're doing when it's something that like you're really passionate about or something that you really, 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 really like. It's rough. It's hard. Okay. I want to see just how well this one might work. Actually, hang on. I've got something I need to do first. We're going to use my studio mode in OBS so that way I can do this. I think theoretically, if I go there, game audio. There we go. I want to set it to this Unity project. Okay. I'm basically going to be relying on OBS to tell me since I'm not wearing the headphones because I don't want to have the music all up in my ears distracting me. But we're going to see if starting the game now will automatically play on loop this ambient sound. Fingers crossed. We can end studio mode now. Yo, that's loud. That is so loud. I can control that audio for you guys right now via my own controls, but I'll have to tie that into a menu at some point. So I can tell now very easily that our audio works. I am noticing that the blue bricks for some reason are taking 2 hits to take out. I'll have to refine that code. It's iffy. I get a little It gets a little problematic whenever I'm working with what do you call it? Arrays. I know that they're just being picky about my use of 1s and 0s. Yeah. See, it's hitting it, but it's not doing anything until that second one, and I think it's because of the way the code is currently written with those checks looking for, you know, if it's greater than or equal to 0, do this, and blah, blah, blah. So I'll refine that a little bit more to try and get that working a bit better, because there's no reason why the blue should be that sturdy. Oh, so close. Oh, no. Oh, no. So this is one of those situations that would be like really difficult in the game, because it's already one of the more difficult scenarios in a brick break style game. Is what happens when damn it. What happens when you've got one brick left and it's just really stubborn to try and hit that thing? Well, there's the answer. Ooh, we hit it with the slow shot. We got that right on the corner of our paddle then. I need to create little layouts for how the bricks should be organized. The only way to regain the velocity, unfortunately, here is for it to go all the way down, so that way we can relaunch it. There you go. Velocity has returned. I don't know if I need to increase the speed on our paddle, if I need to increase the size of the paddle or the size of the ball. Something's got to change because of the fact that it's a wide bit of space, and it's causing, like if it goes through the portal at a low enough spot or just a good enough angle, it just kind of ends. And if I put a limit of like 3 lives or something on here, and each time the ball is reset, it deducts a life. Obviously, it's not going to be every time the ball resets. I'm going to make it so that way it's detecting the correct type of reset. Because honestly, it shouldn't be hitting the outer walls. If it hits one of the walls down here, or I'm going to tell it that if it drops below a certain Z value, to go ahead and subtract 1 from the life count. And that'll be what counts, I guess. The only reason that would ever break is if I try and do a power-up that introduces more balls into the mix. I don't know how many people have actually played a brick break style of game, but you'll have your bricks, right? Let's exit that out. Restart it up again so we've got some to work with. So you'll have your bricks, and as you're breaking through them, you know, generally the first level is going to be all the colors, like 1 row of each color, so that way you see the difference in the colors and what happens with them and hitting them and all that other stuff. It lays down the foundation, right? And then the next step would be, you know, the next level would either have new blocks, or it would introduce a new concept like the power-ups, or it would introduce the fragile bricks, or the indestructible bricks, the unbreakables, the unbrick-breakables, and just various other things like that, you know? Alright, let me... I'm gonna put the game audio all the way back up because we're not actively playing it. Actually, we're gonna test it a couple times. There, that'll be good. Right. The tests... Wait, which test was I just trying to think about doing? We're not going to build our pause menu yet. I cannot commit to that right now. I know what it needs. This one's a special one. Game Manager. Now, when I hit enter, that little file icon is going to turn into a gear. You lied to me. No, it didn't change. That's weird. Used to. I think it might be because I have the project in list view right now. Can this view change? I'm pretty sure it can. Two column. Yeah, there we go. We had it in 1 column layout. If we go to 2 column layout and we go to our managers, you still lied to me. I swear. Oh wait, no. Is that an Unreal thing? Don't quote me. Not anymore. We'll go back to the 1 column layout. Set that back up. And that's the reason that I have it so narrow. I have a 1440 by 3440 screen, so I know that's a resolution count that most people aren't familiar with. Most people know like 1980 or 1920 by 1080, so that way they know, oh yeah, I'm at 1080p, or 1080 by 720, you know, various other things. Yeah, so I basically just have a wider monitor. So my stuff is kind of stretched out, and I can see it a lot better than what is currently visible for you guys right there. I am, however, going to try and make that line up with my banner. Cool. I like it. Right, so the game manager. What is the point of that? Well, first things first, we're going to delete all that right there. That's not needed. Collections generic. We'll delete those for right now. I'm going to put this here and say this is Portal Pong Game Management. That's my name. Don't wear it out. Don't use it. Don't steal my identity, please. I ain't got much. All right. Congratulations, we have made a game manager. Matter of fact, I might just... Yeah, you know what? No, it'll be a separate one. I was going to make it the parent, but no. Game object? No. Game handler. Yes, good. The sound effects handler also needs to be static. Thank you. And the sound effects handler really needs to have the sound effects object in there. Thank you. Sound mixer, we just worked with that. It's fine. All right. The game handler, game object, thingamabobber. So this game manager, what do we want it to do? We want it ultimately to keep track of... We're just going to kind of get started on what this is going to keep tabs on and stuff like that. Because we're at the 5-minute mark. We will be ending the stream here shortly. But... Oh, wow, that's almost exactly 2.5 hours. That's wild. Alright. So, what do we want from this? Alright, that's something that we should always be curious about. Something that we should ask about. We're going to have an int value, of course. Again, for those unfamiliar, an int value, the difference between int and float when it comes to coding and programming game engines, all this kind of stuff. Float does not mean something that is just floating loftily. Its meaning is that of a decimal. So basically, it's decimal numbers. It's anything that is between a whole number of like 1 and 2. A float would be any value between those numbers. It could also be the regular value of like 1 and 2, but it would be like 1.0 and 2.0 is how you would write a float. And whenever you write a float in a game engine like Unity here, you want to make sure that you put F after the number, so that way it registers it as a float. We are currently trying to write an int, I-N-T, an integer. An integer is a whole number. That's all it is. So what whole number would we be looking for? Well, you can't exactly have half a life in a video game, right? Unless it's Half-Life. And then you really just, the whole thing is Half-Life. But here, lives are usually measured in a whole number. You can't half-ass it. So, private int life count. We're not going to initialize that with any kind of value right now, because what we're going to do, right, is we're going to put these brackets in to create an attribute, which is not required. That was the wrong one. Serialized field. I explained that one a little bit earlier, right? So that's when we want to, you know, keep our variable private, where it can only be changed, altered, and all that stuff from inside of its own script. But we want to be able to change what that value is through the inspector, because it's what I like to call a tunable value. If I feel like 2 lives is too much or too little, I need to be able to change that, and it'll be easier to do so by a slider or a little number spot that I can easily access from the inspector. The inspector, by the way, is this area right here, where my mouse is bouncing up and down directly above my head. This is the inspector. Right above me, right? So it'd be nice if all this empty space was used for something more relevant. So by typing in serialize field, I can actually show you this right now. I'm going to hit save. On the game manager that we're making, it is currently what is selected. We can see the game manager script right there. All that is there is the script. When we click it, it highlights the game manager. If we double click it, it basically just takes us to Visual Studio because it's already open, right? Now, if we go ahead and do the serialize field and hit save, pay close attention now. There it is. There it is. Life count. Your life count's right there. So, to start with, I want an initial life count equal to 1. I want to have at least 1 life. At least 1 opportunity to seize everything I ever wanted. Now, this is going to tell me that it's assigned, but the value's never used just because we're not using it for anything. And it's always going to give us that warning when we have a value that is just kind of there, sitting up, taking up space and memory. So it's nice to keep those alerts there, so that way you know what's just kind of a loose end. What else are we going to want to keep track of? We are going to want to keep track of, and we're not going to need to serialize it, we want private int score. And we set that equal to 0 here at the start, because it's not going to be changing at the very start of the game. It's not going to be changing when we're in the start menu. It's not going to be changing until we start breaking bricks. All right, so those are the 2 values that we want to keep track of the absolute most in this. Is how many chances our player has, what's their score. After that, everything else is a menu. Everything else is, can I pause it? Can I change the audio? Can I go back to the start menu, like the opening menu of the game? And then can I leave the game? Is there going to be an exit game button? That's it. That's all we have afterwards. Those are the baseline requirements. After we get those things in, we can start putting in some crazier stuff, like maybe I want to have some extra portals that'll appear and spit the ball out in weird spots. Maybe I want to have that power-up that gives me 2 or 3 balls that'll just go crazy. Maybe I want to have a missile launcher that I can use to blow up an area of bricks. That sounds cool, right? Right. So we're going to go ahead and end. Bye. I'm just kidding. I do like to say goodbye, and I do like to go ahead and give thanks to those that participate in my streams. And as the sole member of Snow Studio Games, this is Sergeant Killer Snow signing out, and I want to give that thanks strictly to Darklight today. Thank you for being here on our very first stream back. And I know that there are others that would want to be here, but life is what it is. I'm not the only one that's going to be busy for the foreseeable future. So anyone that's watching in the future, don't feel bad. Stop that. Treat yourself better. All right? Everyone have a wonderful evening or morning, whatever it is, wherever you are. And I will see y'all in the next one. Stay frosty.